Let's talk some football, Jeff. Let's talk some NFL football. You and Wes Reynolds, your stealth alliance in the Circa Millions contest called Weekend Warriors. Read into that title what you want. What you had your first bad week last week?
No, we had the bad week 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
It still wasn't great this week. That Cowboys-Patriots decision, we were on the wrong end of that.
Oh, brutal.
So we did go 2-3, but.
So you guys meet. What do you do by phone?
Oh, we do a phone call on Friday, and it usually lasts between 90 minutes and 2.5 hours.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we go through all of them.
You know what we do on Primetime Action is the three of us, me, Matt, and Kelly. Matt Brown, Kelly Bidlin, by the way. We each do our 5 on our own, our 5 plays. We submit to Kelly. If 3 match, it's one of our plays. If 2 match, it would take a really spirited argument from the third person to not have that end up as one of our picks. And then, we debate the others that are singles. But, that takes, one segment? You guys are on the phone for up to 2.5 hours?
It can be. That's the longest one. Usually it's closer to 90 minutes.
Maybe that's why you're doing better than we are. That could be it.
Well, again, Wes, I love the guy, but as we know, elongated talker.
What? Are you kidding me? I love talking to Wes. I could talk to him about anything. He could talk all he wants. Air supply, whatever it is. Whatever he wants to talk about. The Bee Gees. So what are you going to suggest to him as this is the hardest week of the year. 6 teams on byes, only 13 games. 3 are huge double-digit favorites. 1 is teetering on a double-digit favorite, and 2 are near a touchdown, which leaves you 7 short spreads, really.
So, Gill, I think the only one I'm going to suggest, and I know after listening to the Megapod yesterday, that our friend Mikey Palm is going to be opposite of what I'm going to suggest here, and that is the big favorite of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I disagreed with Mikey. He thinks that he was all about the Bears. Mikey's a thoughtful guy. He thinks they might be able to pull off an upset. I think this is the worst matchup ever for them.
The team that is most similar to Tampa offensively that Chicago's already played this year is the L.A. Rams. And the L.A. Rams, even in a game where they couldn't stop David Montgomery at all, won that game easily. Now, I know there was some fourth down luck in there for Chicago to win against the Bears early in that game, but the Bears' secondary is terrible. And all those weapons on Tampa, even with Gronk still sidelined, that feels like Tampa's going to be able to name their score. And Chicago's probably not capable of scoring more than 20, 21, 24 points against anyone. Like, that's on the high end. And Tampa wouldn't shock me if they're in the low 40s in this game.
Yeah, that's one of the rare big spreads I would actually consider laying. I will tell you what we'll go one by one here. We'll trade off one pick at a time. I think the Texans catching all those points. They ended up 18.5 in the contest. 18.5. I know that, we're showing 18, but in the contest, I think 18.5. I know they're El Stinko. I know I've got them power ranked 32. But they should have beaten the Patriots. That game last week, even though they lost 31-3, it was 10-3 in the third quarter. And then Mills threw that awful pick. I know. He's Mills. I get it. They had the one big run to Taylor. I mean, that really blew the game open. You're giving me 18.5 just on principle. I'm taking that. Just principle. No, there's nothing beyond that. Just an NFL game. Unless you think DeAndre Hopkins wants to rub it in their face and say, how dare you trade me, franchise of stupidity. But I'll take the 18.5 and I'll live with that. If you beat me on that, okay. I'm cool with it. No? Yes?
I don't want anything to do with Houston and Arizona, Gill. I want nothing to do with
it's not a no and it's not a yes.
Because my concern in that game, yes, it's 18.5 in an NFL game, which is just a lunacy number. But I'm concerned that Houston's not going to be able to score enough points in order to even cover that. Arizona winning this game 24-3 feels like a totally in-play scenario here. I like this game under, by the way, if we're just talking about a traditional sense, because I don't think Houston's going to be able to score enough. This feels like one where Arizona will take the foot off the gas pedal late, especially with Green Bay looming on Thursday night the following week. By the way, that is a look-ahead spot, Gil. We got to put that in quotes
yes.
Do
you like Paul Carr's Matt Ryan revenge spot against the Dolphins?
Big time revenge.
I ended up going, by the way, on primetime last night. I ended up going Denver, the rare same game teaser where I went Denver in the under, and that ended up working out. But I didn't love the Denver teaser side enough to pair it with the team on Sunday, so I just did it for have some fun last night and ended up cashing. But by the way, let me just clarify on this. If the Cardinals did win 24-3 to use your score, would I be shocked at all? Hells no. Not for a second. But on a week, I guess what I'm saying is in a week where this is slim pickings, I'll take the 18.5. How about that? It's about as simple as it gets for me.
Look again, this is one of those weeks where it's hard to get the 5. It's just hard to get the 5.
Let's try to get to 2. What's your 2?
Yeah, that's kind of my point, because the one I like the second most is Seattle on Monday night against New Orleans, getting 5. I understand that the Saints are getting healthier on defense, especially. They are off a bye week, so more rest. But Gill, I know the Seahawks' defense isn't any good. I know Geno Smith is the quarterback. But this feels like one of those spots where at home, in prime time, it's a tough place to play. I know they've lost already 2 home games this year. That Seattle should be able to stay close in this game. And Jameis still has not, other than
Geno.
No, Jameis. Now I'm looking at New Orleans side here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jameis still hasn't really had that total blow-up game yet. That's coming at some point, Bill.
The game where he throws 3 picks? Yeah. I can't argue with that. I think James Salinas, who was on the Megapod yesterday, and of course, host of shows here at VEASAN, Betting Across America in the past, and now on the weekends with Brady Cannon. What's the name of their show?
Pro Football Blitz.
Pro Football Blitz. Why can't I remember that? It's a simple name. Pro Football Blitz. 2 super contest winners talking football. How can you beat that? James, he likes Seahawks in a non-Wong teaser leg. So he's sort of with you there. Yeah, I don't hate it. I think in the end I'm going to lay the points with New England. And I already hate myself as it's coming out of my mouth for doing that. Because it's like, what could possibly go wrong, right? Belichick in this game versus Robert Saleh. Patriots favored by 7. The Patriots, they crushed the Jets the first time. This is the first game of the year where teams are playing each other twice. So it's the first division rematch of the season. Patriots beat them, 25-6 the first time? And they picked off Zach Wilson 4 times in that game. I'm not expecting 4 picks, but Belichick is not going to let that kid beat him. And laying 7 after a heartbreaking loss that they had last week to the Cowboys, again, in the context of slim pickings, I think I'm going to lay the points with the Patriots. Give me the 18.5 with the Texans, but I think I'll lay it with the Patriots. You're a Jets fan. What do you think here?
I have no feel for this game.
Yeah.
I have no feel. It wouldn't shock me if New England wins this game very similar, like 24-6, and Wilson turns it over another 3 times. Wouldn't shock me if the Jets are in the game because the Patriots just aren't very good, Gil.
Let me ask you a Megapod question that we ask every week on the Megapod. Of the big favorites, all the double-digit favorites, plus the Packers, plus the Ravens and the Patriots, who's the most likely to lose outright?
Can none of them be the answer?
Not for the purposes of this
Not for the
segment.
purpose of this. The most likely to lose outright is the Packers.
Really? To Washington?
Yeah. I that's just because I don't like anyone else to win.
We didn't include the Ravens in there, who are 6.5.
Yeah, the Ravens
favorites.
are down to 6 right now at BetMGM.
Would you say them if I included them?
Yes, I would actually.
What about only the double digits? Rams, Cardinals, or Buccaneers? I come to you from the future and I say, Jeff, one of them lost. Who is it?
The Cardinals. No, I don't think any of them are losing, no.
But someone did. Who is it? It's the Cardinals, he said.
Rams.
Oh, interesting. All right, back to the NFL. Week number 7, the Fakakta week of the year thus far, from a betting standpoint. Fakakta cashes. Okay, teaser legs. Not really very wongable here. Although the Broncos got to be a Stanford Wong teaser leg. By the way, Stanford Wong, pseudonym for John Ferguson. The most positive EV teaser legs historically. Dogs of 1.5 to 2.5, home or road, teased up through the 3 and the 7. Home favorites of between 7.5 and 8.5, teased down through the 7 and 3. Although I will say that road favorites, teased down 7.5 to 8.5, teased down, have actually, the last 10 years, been profitable too. So these things do change. But anyway, the first three are the classic Stanford long teaser legs. So the Broncos ended up being one last night. I didn't love it, but I played it and it got there. And then we have the Dolphins. You have any interest in the Dolphins teaser leg there, Jeffrey? Anything at all? You can't just shake your head off.
No. Yeah. The silence is my opinion there,
yes.
Gill.
Very slow to the draw, this Jeffrey Parles this morning. Not me either. How about the Packers down? So here's what I came. I mean, my teaser leg ultimately is going to be the Packers down, the two-teamer that is. Packers down, and then although it's not a classic Wong, I will just take the Patriots to essentially win as my other one. Packers and Patriots. You have any argument with that? I guess you thought Washington could upset.
I mean, they could, but Green Bay more than likely is still going to win that game and come close to covering the 8. So I have no problem with that. Green Bay being the first leg of that. What a brutal week for teasers.
Brutal.
Here.
It's also brutal. Yeah.
Again, not traditional at all. But Seattle up. A follow Salinas there, up to 10.5 or 11, depending on where you're at. And I'll take Baltimore down to a pick against Cincinnati. Even though I give the Bengals a chance to win this game, I have a hard time seeing Baltimore blowing a game at home like this. Even though the Bengals have shown to be much better than any of us would have thought going into the year, the Ravens have owned the Bengals ever since Lamar Jackson has come into the league. And Lamar Jackson seemingly has one ridiculous play a game that you will remember for multiple years against the Bengals. So, again, not traditional with the Seahawks up to 10.5 and Baltimore down to a pick for me.
Now that Russell Wilson is hurt, he'll be eligible to come back week 10 at the earliest. He is the poster child for worst feeling of any player to bet against. Now that he's been sidelined, who holds that mantle right now of active players? Is it Lamar?
It's a good question.
I'm going to say Kyler Murray is the guy.
For quarterbacks, I think it's Kyler.
Yeah.
And I mean, either Kyler or Lamar, 1, 2. At this point, I know he's a running back, but can we include Derrick Henry in there?
He's a unicorn.
Yeah.
He's why he's in the top 10 power rankings because you don't know with that team. He's their get out of jail free card. We're just going to give the ball to Derrick Henry. Stop us. And we'll milk the clock at the same time, in the process of doing that. It's a week, if you will, EEK for teasers as well. It's a week. Matt Brown dubbed Week 7 the stink. That's how bad it is. Survivor, on the other hand, is interesting because it's kind of been, a lot of players playing one or two teams. One last week with the Colts. Raise my hand. This week it should be splintered because you have the huge favorites, right? You have Arizona. If you're in Circa, there is a Christmas consideration for Arizona, however. There is Tampa Bay, if you haven't used Tampa Bay. There is, of course, the Rams. Rams, do you want to save them or do you want to use them? Those are the three huge favorites. Rams, 16-point favorites now against the Lions as well. Then, of course, there is Green Bay, 8.5 against Washington, if you haven't used them. Then the Patriots at 7. The Ravens at 6. Every time I say the Ravens, I hear like Berman's voice in my head going, quote the Raven. As if it's clever or something. So who do you go with? Now, you are not in Survivor. So it's always hard to ask people who are not in Survivor because you don't know who you would have left. For instance, me, I do not have the Buccaneers or the Packers. I used them first 2 weeks of the season. I have the rest. I think I know who I'm playing. I don't know if I'm going to say it. I said it on the Megapod, though.
Going off of the teams you have left, and of course the biggest caveat, if you're in the Circus Survivor field still.
Yes.
Arizona plays on Christmas.
Yes.
Arizona plays the Colts on Christmas.
Yes.
Which is seemingly on paper the biggest mismatch of the 3 Christmas games.
Yes, again.
So keep that in mind. If you don't want to burn Arizona because of that, that's perfectly sound.
You are correct, sir.
So it comes down to the Rams and Tampa, and I think just don't overthink it. Whoever you have left, if you happen to use one of them, use the other here. If you have both left, I think I would lean to Tampa just because the Rams still have Houston next week. They have Jacksonville later in the season. There are more spots that I like the Rams to be used than Tampa. So I would look to the Bucs if you have not used them this week.
I also like the Tampa matchup better than the Rams matchup.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. First of all, last week, the highest elimination team was the Broncos at 19, followed by no submissions at 10, then the Dolphins at 7. I will say this about no submissions, though. I get scared every week that I'm going to forget. Because I'll do 11 shows and I'm fried, and then I'm like, hey, it's over, weekend. And I'm like, oh, Survivor. So you got to set the alarms for this. Don't be a no submission. Do you think the no submission thing, because it's multiple every week, that it's a proxy issue, or do you think there's like 10 different people?
I'm not sure. Wouldn't shock me if it's a proxy issue, though, because that's.
But then what do you do to your proxy if he or she fails to put them in? Like, I mean, what's the penalty for that?
That's
never proxying again doesn't seem like that's punishment.
No, you lose you lose 1,000 over, especially if you had a winner that week that they failed to put in.
I'm just speculating. It's probably individuals. Who knows? Anyway, so for me then, without the Packers and the Bucs, it's a choice between the Cardinals, Christmas, Rams, Patriots, Ravens. Rams, Patriots, Ravens. Yeah, I think I know which way I'm going. And we still have more people left in Survivor, in Circa Survivor. We still have more people left, more entries left. Let me be clear, because people have multiple entries. Some people still have their 6, by the way. Some people went max still have all 6 left. Again, the multiple entries to me doesn't matter till we get to Thanksgiving. If you end up with 2 on Thanksgiving, then talk to me. But we have more entries left now than we did to begin the entire Circa Survivor last year. That's how many folks we got. We were taking Joe Pita hit me up, and he and his buddy were talking about how many entries he thinks will be left at the end of the year. Joe estimated 200 plus. His buddy estimated 100 plus. I went with 96. Wishnev went under 96. I think someone else, who went 50-something? I can't even remember now who chimed in. Oh, Michael Montesano told me 50-something he thinks, I believe. I hope I'm quoting him right. What's your instinct on this?
In the 50s.
Yeah. That's how many were last year, right?
Yeah, look.
Or 60s.
There is going to be a week.
Oh, carnage is coming.
Where carnage happens.
Yeah.
We were very close 2 weeks ago if Minnesota didn't come back against Detroit. So it's coming. That week is coming where a team that's picked by 40-some-odd% is going down.
What is your instinct on all these? So all of these 5 plus the Ravens, Packers, Patriots, Rams, Cardinals, Buccaneers, Ravens. What's your instinct on how many of those 6 actually lose this week? 0?
0.
Another week.
Maybe 1, but more likely 0.
Yeah. Well, name of the game is Survivor, but I will again argue that is a misnamed game. It's Survivor for a while. Then it's about winning. I'm not sure we've got to that point yet this season. It has been very interesting, to say the least, but so much fun. And there's a lot of people criticize the Thanksgiving, Christmas Quiniela there at the end of the year as injecting too much luck into it. But I want to give Derek Stevens and Mike Palm and crew a shout for that, because it does make it much more, there's more strategy involved as a result.